Welcome, beautiful people. It's Sunday. We're in November now, which is crazy. Like the year is officially done. So if you had a New Year's resolution and you haven't started it or completed it, I can officially say 2025 is a write-off. Congratulations. We're here, first week of draft month, and I've got my main man, Big Ian from Navy Blue Corner. Ian, welcome to the show, mate.
Mate, Pommy, thanks for having me. Very excited. It feels like a while since I've spoken any footy, so this will be the best way to dive back in. We've had the big trade period. We're just about to have the draft. Like this is all of our bread and butter. This is the fun part where, you don't have to watch your team lose and you can still feel like you've had a win.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you can't lose trade. Can you lose trade period? Is that a thing?
Like, there'll be articles that'll say you've lost it. The articles will come out telling you've lost it, but I mean, how many articles come out saying like they've had the worst trade period ever, and then in 6 months' time, it turns out it's actually worked out really well, and all the exact same journos are printing another story saying, "I told you, this is the greatest trade period that this club's ever had," and they've set themselves up for years. Masterstroke.
Mate, September premieres is always a good thing. Well, I mean, we got loads to cover today, chat. We need your engagement, but we are going to talk about delistings, the free agency, the preseason draft, and just jog your mind on the AFL rules, because obviously the AFL makes stuff up. And what you'll see on your screens now, I've made this little cheat sheet. This is condensed every delisted player in the market and every player where they're linked. So we're starting with Adelaide. They're obviously getting Calamari, but I'll start with you, Ian, and chat, let me know. What do you think of the rookie list as a whole? Like, are you a fan that we're going to see players that have played over 200 games be taken in the rookie draft?
Yeah, look, I'm a fan of the idea of the rookie list in, I guess, how it's probably meant to have been made, which is if you've missed out in the draft, if you've got like an extra list spot where you don't have to pay someone too much money in the salary cap to give someone an opportunity, whether that's a mature age player, someone who's been overlooked in the draft, someone who's maybe been delisted from another team that, okay, we'll give you an opportunity. But yeah, as soon as it starts to be the clubs themselves are delisting premiership players, a former captain who's played 300 games just so they can manipulate the rules a certain way or not pay him as much next season, it starts to muddy the waters a little bit of what the rookie list should really be. I'm sure a lot of people would agree, and I'm sort of surprised it has kind of continued to exist in the way it currently does.
It's a fascinating one because, like, obviously Adelaide are an interesting one. They delisted Tyler Welsh in contract. It opens up a couple of extra picks for them. That's why these clubs do it. But it's interesting. They've got Calamari there. So we can't really complain about Calamari because Carlton did the dodgy as well with Jack Martin. But it is believed that Calamari is in the preseason draft. You can nominate, stay, you can put caveats on your contract. So it's almost impossible to go anywhere else. What are our thoughts on like Calamari? Brisbane, obviously, they didn't do the trade. He overcharged, so they lose the player. But how do we feel about players like Calamari, who I would say would play for any of the teams before Adelaide's pick in the preseason draft? The fact that really he's just going to sign for them anyway.
Well, this is like half the issue, and there's so many different parts of it as well. You can dive into the whole, they're out of contract, but they're not technically a free agent. They're still kind of tied to the club, even though there is no contract there, and how ridiculous that also is as far as movement. But yeah, I don't love how easy, again, this one feels like it is to be manipulated, where like Brisbane are in a tough spot where they either take probably unders for a player because they know they're going to lose him for nothing, but also he's not committing to them. He's out of contract. So it feels like a weird thing there. I think Brisbane in this trade that didn't go through, knowing a few of their players coming up in the years that will be coming, they kind of had to make a bit of a statement and say, we're not going to accept unders for these players. A lot of players are out of contract. It's going to be some salary cap issues with a lot of their youngsters needing some big deals. I kind of get why they were playing hardball. But as soon as then, okay, we're going to walk them to the preseason draft, which, West Coast here should then be licking their lips saying, well, how good's this? And then all of these caveats come onto it like, okay, hang on, I'm only going to go to South Australia. I'm only going to go to Adelaide. I will refuse to play for you if you select me. I'm only going to be on a specific contract, so you can't afford me. It just sort of makes no sense. Now it's just a massive loophole, and I don't think that is evening the competition and allowing the teams that should be getting these guys, like a West Coast, that are struggling clubs, it's not helping them at all. It's just allowing good clubs to pick guys up in a dodgy way.
How do we fix it, Ian and chat? Like, a lot of you were talking about the veteran list. My belief of the rookie list, I would like to see an actual rookie list of under 10, 20 games. You can go on that. And then I'd get rid of rookie B, and I'd just have, call it something else, outside the cap list or miscellaneous, and just mirror the leftovers. So you could have up to 4, which is veterans, Irish players, players from State League, like force them to rename it. But I think it's too much because effectively you could have 36 senior players, 8 on the rookie A and 2 on the rookie B. And most of them won't be actual rookies apart from your Irish guys.
I agree with that. I think that's a easy, quick way to fix it, which is simply if you've played X amount of games, you're not eligible. Or it depends how much you want to go for it. If you don't want someone who's been in the system for quite some time as well, you could potentially say, if you've been on an AFL list for X amount of years as well, you also don't qualify. We want to be giving new opportunities to other, whether that's a mature age player that's missed out or someone who didn't get done in the national draft. If that's what your focus is, then target the rules to that. But just allowing it to be, we'll delist Jake Stringer and then we'll chuck him back on the rookie list or something. It's just, that feels really silly to me. If he was maybe out of the AFL for a few years, I could potentially understand him going on this weird list. But if you're going to have it, anyone can go on it. Calling it the rookie list as well just feels wrong. Call it something else then, because it's definitely not a rookie.
Says has got the right idea. The odds and ends list. It's just the made up list.
Like, I feel like we can go, like, I have some crazy ideas around this as well, but I would love us to be able to extend the lists so much further and really get combined with your actual twos team, whether that's VFL, Samful, Waffle, whatever you align to, like maybe the NFL where you've got like a practice squad and that's like your VFL list. Whoever is on the VFL list at the start of the season, if you've then got injuries, instead of doing a mid-season draft, you can, with injuries, just elevate someone who's already technically on your list, on your VFL list, into the seniors. And for the X amount of games that they sign on for, they get paid at the AFL level. That way you can potentially give way more opportunity throughout the season, whether it's a 3-game contract for this player while someone's injured. I just think there's so many other interesting ways you can maneuver lists with the AFL to give more opportunities to guys who have never played in the AFL. Maybe they play for a month and you're not going to sign them at the end of the season, but does a West Coast say, we quite liked what he was bringing? All of a sudden, he wouldn't have had that chance to shine at an AFL level. He gets an opportunity rather than in this world where teams are just doing the dodgiest thing to make sure that they've got the X amount of list spots to get into the draft, enough draft points, murky with dodgy deals with the salary cap. It's just, it's not fun, Pommy.
Do you, to answer Laggy's question as well, the reason they can't just be put on train-ons, if you've played in the last 12 months of the competition, you must enter one of the drafts. If you were ignored, you can become a train-on player. So that's why Archie can't just sign with Brisbane. They've got to give us this idea that he could end up anywhere other than Adelaide, but he will end up at Adelaide. It's like an illusion for it. It's a fascinating thing. We've noticed as well, has anyone noticed this as well, that what actually angers me is Eagles. As we look at Brisbane, they have been linked with just about everyone delisted and they've been giving them 4 rookie spots. Now, to your point, I love it, Ian, because I've been advocating we should mirror the NFL with, they've got their practice squads where they get paid a low retainer, and I would get rid of the preseason rookie draft, have an AFL 2 as the state league, and just say, right, now you build a list of 30, and we have no rookie list, but what will happen is, should you get elevated for an injury, here's 100K on top of your basic wage. I think that would keep people in the system longer. And to Eagles' point, I think Robertson is definitely one of the players that you need, but they have been linked with Tom Mitchell, players like that. Don't you think when you've got the rookie list and you're rubbish, you'd be best off trying to find the untapped talent as opposed to the already established talent that isn't going to get any better?
I absolutely, like, the practice squad thing's my big, like, I think you can really not only elevate more talent, but also it makes, because I think the biggest issue is as soon as you're out of the AFL, there's no money in the twos, in the VFL, in the state. So they go play country league football to actually earn some money and have some fun. If you're able to know that, hey, if I sign with Carlton's twos team, there's a chance I could play AFL due to a couple of injuries. All of a sudden, like you're saying, you're keeping people in the system. There's more opportunity. That strengthens the pathways a lot more. I think that's such a smart thing to do. And then looking at, a team like West Coast and what they should be then picking up, the system definitely incentivizes teams to maybe not take those gambles because the list spots, there's not enough of them. I think it was around COVID, they sort of started to cut a lot of the lists sizes and we haven't really got them back. I think they need to be a lot bigger, in my opinion. And that's why I like what the AFL have done here with West Coast. If that's the concession they're doing, it's, well, let's just give you more opportunities to find talent. And because of that, now they can take a punt on a Devin Robertson. I think maybe going for 1 or 2 of those players is fine. But I think I'm like you. I'd be wanting to try and find that gem, find that diamond in the rough somewhere, rather than, look, I've seen this guy play 50, 100 games. He's okay. But I'd rather someone who maybe has a higher ceiling than just, an okay run-of-the-mill. He wasn't good enough at another club for years.
Mate, no, I agree. Winner, I think you misunderstand. I'm not saying you avoid the draft. I'm saying get rid of the rookie draft and have that pure rookies. So these extended players, these old players, these state league players, have that separated. So the rookie list or whatever list we have in the AFL with an extended practice squad is actually young players and players not playing the game. Because the whole idea after COVID was to stop players getting delisted and being lost to the system, which I actually think it's worse now. I agree with you, Ian. Once you get delisted, it's almost impossible to come back into the system. And teams are more willing to open up them spots for points and list management purposes, as opposed to taking a punt on an 18-year-old that's shown signs, innit? I mean, like the fact Sydney are bringing in Rampy and Lloyd as their 2 list changes, or St Kilda, who have delisted Ryan Burns purely so they get 3 picks, even though they've got 1 senior spot to fill. When you actually look at what they're going to do, it's kind of Mickey Mouse that it's not really giving the opportunity to the young players. It's keeping the same players over and over again, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not really enough mechanisms to give guys an opportunity. And sometimes it seems as if list managers, they'll see a guy's been delisted and instead of sticking with their gut, which is, I actually think he's okay, it's, well, why'd they get rid of him? There must be a reason. Maybe he's no good. If they don't think he's good, then we can't have him because he must be a reject. And there's such a negative connotation with delisted players. I think that's slightly changing now. I feel like a lot more delisted players are kind of starting to get picked up, but it's still nowhere near as much as it should be for opportunities. Like you look at so many other sports and like NFL, NBA, players move clubs. They're like, okay, we don't need you. And it's immediately picked up and someone will recycle you and allow you to play a role at another club. They don't need you to be a star, but just play a different role. And yeah, anyway, we can get that happening and teams aren't rorting the system. I'm very happy with.
Is there anyone here on Brisbane? Brandon Ryan is an intriguing one that they delisted. Forward, cheap. Do we feel like Brandon Ryan is one of these guys that might get an opportunity? He never really got going at Brisbane, did he? But you look at this draft, there isn't a lot of key talent outside of the top 40. Is this someone that you think... I mean, I'd love him at Carlton's VFL team as like a mid-season option. Like, just test the waters, but can we see that
higher up the list? I can see it. It was a surprising one. There was a bit of hype when he moved to the Lions, and they kind of needed that key forward, particularly with Danaher going, and then everyone else was getting an opportunity except for him. And he's now that they've got Oscar Allen, they don't need him at all. There isn't a lot of good key talent in the AFL pathways, I think, at the moment at all. And you look at just Carlton's list, we've got really one key forward, and that's it. If Harry Mackay is injured, there is nothing behind that. It's kind of a slightly tall player or a ruck forward, or it's Pitto in the goal square, which doesn't excite me a lot. I think from a Carlton point of view, they need to get some sort of ready-made body plug and play on that list. And I think there's a few clubs that could do that. He would definitely be someone that I think is worth a look at least.
Well, Carlton are in an intriguing position, 32 on their senior list, needing to fill 4. If we believe Davis, he said that we'll leave 1 spot minimum open for the train on. At the minute, we know Will White and Elijah are training on. There is rumours Ryan Burton is going to be one of our train on roles. Do we see a second chance, though? Carlton surprisingly paid out Jackson Binns early. Can we see Binnsy getting an option somewhere?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think someone may take a punt on him. I mean, I thought there was definitely talent there. I was very surprised, and I think we've had this kind of discussion a lot, that he was very locked on that wing, and we know he's sometimes defensive running isn't the greatest quality that he has, but he was so attacking, and he seemed to always be able to pop up and find a goal a game. I'm surprised we didn't really trial him enough on that sort of half-forward connector role. Feels like we ran every single other player on the list through that role except for Jackson Binns, and I thought he was potentially one of the best that could have occupied that spot. I think the unfortunate thing for Jackson Binns is when you're on maybe a team that hasn't performed amazingly, you're delisted from them, haven't really nailed down a spot in the AFL, hasn't really flourished too much. I think other clubs will just start to look at a kid instead. I reckon, not to be really rude to Jackson Binns, but I feel like he can find his role and a player that can at least be where he's at now pretty easily.
You know, Carlton impressed me though, right? Because, and I'm not bagging players here, but I remember us keeping Lockie O'Brien for what felt like 3 years too long. And every year people would say, oh, he might come good though. And I remember you used to get angry about it because I'm like, he's a winger. Everyone's a winger in the AFL if they're not an inside midfielder or a giant. Like, it should be the easiest position to find. I'm actually impressed that Jackson Binns, Chin Cotter, Fantasia, Lemmy, Will White, and Elijah have been delisted, because these are the types of players Carlton historically would have kept on and kept on and kept on. We already know what level they're playing at. And by the end of the year, we would have delisted them in 5 years' time, playing 6 games.
Yeah, like they're definitely those kind of like little role players that sometimes are really good, and maybe there's one or two that are a little bit stiff, but I'll always like the more slightly bold call from a list management team, because it gives me a bit of excitement to think, if I assumed he was staying, that means you've got a plan. That means you think you can improve in somewhere that I maybe didn't believe you could. So that will always excite me, taking a chance on a higher ceiling. I'm such a high ceiling person, so I will take the gamble each and every day.
Well, I mean, I'm with you. And Collingwood, they did very similar as well. They delisted a lot of old people, which is a change. One probably, maybe I'm harsh. I think Finlay McRae was kind of a surprise, because I've always thought he's one of them guys that could break through eventually. It just feels like he's too good for VFL not good enough for AFL. But interesting, Mason Cox has announced he's been meeting with other AFL clubs. Tall players, they're a hard commodity. Can you see Mason Cox getting a gig anywhere else?
I actually can. I think for 1 year, like he gets a lot of stick, but he's just a solid, you know what you're getting. And those are the kind of players, if you genuinely need a transition year for just a tall, like a pinch hitting ruck, someone who can just be a target in the forward line in case you get some injuries, you can do a lot worse than Mason Cox on a 1 year, absolutely no money deal. And the only concern I'd say is that he's 34. He is a lot older than I think you imagine. I would have guessed he's maybe 31, 32. When I heard he was 34, I was a little bit shocked and I thought, okay, maybe he might not get picked up. But out of all the tall players that have kind of been delisted, if you need a bridging year, but if you've got a young developing player that's maybe not ready, Mason Cox is probably the most ideal 1 year option. I'm actually surprised Collingwood didn't keep him, knowing their lack of talls, losing my check. It felt like one that they would just keep on.
This one from Lou is the most Cats thing ever, isn't it? Mason Cox to the Cats, and he retires with another flag.
You can just see it happening. You kick the first goal in the grand final or something too.
Yeah, you could. That's a quality call by you, Lou. It screams it. Essendon, I see the amazing Sonia's in here. I know she talks about her Bombers. Bombers, obviously, they got rid of Jaden Laverde. He's one of them GWS guys that's going to be signed on pretty quickly. Ben Hobbs, really intriguing. A guy that's played quite a lot of football, but never got going. And obviously, Will Setterfield has been linked to Richmond, of all places, this morning. Quite a few players there delisted. Essendon kind of doing a Carlton, I think. And they're actually making some ruthless calls, which I think they need to, because I feel like they're a bit like Carlton in 2018-19. Quite a lot of players on that list that you know aren't good enough, but most people would hold on to them for too long. I actually like their bullish way.
Yeah, their list is in a really interesting and tough spot. I think the best thing that could have happened to them this year, weirdly, I know Essendon supporters wouldn't be happy with it, but the amount of injuries and the amount of exposure they got to see their entire list in such a transition-y year, to be able to know, okay, we can definitely put a line through this kid. I saw some signs. Okay, maybe we can start to get rid of some of these older players like a Laverde, like these kind of, look, let's be honest, they're kind of list cloggers. You know that they're like a C grade, B grade at their best. They can hover on your list for 10 years. They're not going to win you a flag. Being bold, going young, seeing the actual talent this year, I really like what they have been able to do with some of these list calls. Like, you go through that list, none of those players are really going to do a lot for you. So you may as well move them on. Like, Ben Hobbs is the interesting one. I don't think they truly played him and developed him the right way. But, you know, when your team's not playing good football, it doesn't feel like there's an amazing culture and development of any talent. It's tough to start that, and he's probably just a product of a wrong time. If he maybe gets drafted now, are they set up better for the next 3 years to develop talent than when he was drafted? Potentially, but sometimes that just happens. You come in with a bit of talent, you get into the wrong program, and it really just stifles you.
You know what? Great call about Ben Hobbs, because I don't mind Ben Hobbs. I feel like that whole forward experiment they did, it reminded me a little bit of Liam Stocker. You know, that Carlton just never played him the right way, couldn't like buy into it. And then he's been quite serviceable at St Kilda. Yeah. I think, to answer Void here and Sean, I agree. I've got him as Ned Long 2.0. I think he'll go to like Collingwood, play on the ball, and everyone will be like, oh my God, what have Essendon done? They've Patrick Vossed it again.
Yeah, I think Ben Hobbs should be on an AFL list somewhere for an opportunity. One that he hasn't actually done anything since really being at an AFL level, but I was so big on Orwin Davey Jr. in his under-18 year. Oh, yeah. I thought he had something there. It just obviously has not happened, and I don't think he'll get another opportunity, but very sad for him because I was incredibly high going into the draft.
A good source of mine tells me that he frequents Rebs quite a bit. Orwin Davey.
That'll do it.
Junior.
That'll
Don't know how true that is, but who knows?
Oh, my boy, Jack Deline, another Ian draft favorite, has not developed into a star, unfortunately.
Do you know what I mean? Angus, cheers for the intel on Hobbsy. Are you gutted Hobbsy left? Because I know you're a massive Bomber man, but yeah, Jack Deline and Odin, Fremantle, my favourite team to cover Fremantle, because you literally get no intel. Fremantle must have the tightest four walls in AFL because there's never any Fremantle rumours, and they're not linked with anyone on DFA. There was early reports, though, about Elijah Hollands. I know they were the first club in the WA in Western Australia that said that they were looking at Elijah, but that died down. But Fremantle, pretty straightforward, nothing happening. But this is the big one I wanted to talk about. My boy, George Stevens. Surely someone has a punt at the VFL best and fairest winner. Surely.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got something there. I've got a lot of time for George Stevens. Surprised that they've done it the way they have. And surprising he maybe hasn't had as much opportunity. It feels like they've been kind of crying out for that style of player at times last season. So, yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I've definitely got a lot of time for Stevens.
You see, that's one, because I know West Coast, Ted Closey's been linked to Richmond, North Melbourne, and the Eagles. And I understand that. I thought he showed some signs in the AFL. But surely pick one, pre-season draft. If you're the Eagles, you're selling to George. You're not playing at Geelong for maybe a year, 2 years. We can offer you full-time... Because I think Stevens walks in to anyone in the bottom five's midfield.
Yeah, I think so. He's definitely got that spot. Do you know what junior club he was at? Was he from... He wasn't from Geelong, was he? He's not a Geelong boy.
Where is it?
I was like, if he is, I can understand why I'd stay, but I don't think he is. So I reckon you could try and convince him out of there for opportunities.
2023. Let's have a look. Here we are. Tell you what, we're going way back. We're going way back. So Vic Country Boy, GMV.
Out west? Yeah. So I knew he was close to there, but yeah. So I think it is a good opportunity. This is the sort of thing I think clubs need to be doing a little bit more with, is finding these kids who are out of favour at clubs. Maybe like I know it's not the greatest example youth-wise, but Hugh Greenwood, where all of a sudden, delist you to re-rookie you. That's the call. Mate, they don't want you. They're not willing to stick around there. They're doing what's good for them, not what's good for you here. Come to us. We'll look after you. We'll give you an opportunity to play in the ones. Yeah, there's a lot of those bottom clubs that should be very heavy into a guy like Stevens. There's a lot of talent there. And I think he's probably just going to be one with Geelong that you see in 2 years, steps in and everyone goes, who's he? And he just best and fairest every single year.
He's got Tom Atkins written all over him, hasn't he? Like, yeah, you know who else? Just thinking about it, because I saw Teresa in chat, who's a massive pie. Collingwood pick before Geelong, and thereafter inside mids. Surely George Stevens he's better than Ben Hobbs, in my opinion, potentially. Yeah. Like
the ceiling is high, I reckon.
You just because I don't think there's much of a difference to Geelong and Collingwood in the terms of like prestige, is there? Like, it's a big club.
He's got more opportunity at Collingwood. That's probably the big thing, particularly Geelong bringing in Warple. There's less in that sort of pipeline, which is why I find it maybe interesting. There isn't too much link elsewhere with him wanting to be sort of, we'll re-rookie you, but we've just kind of already replaced the spot that you maybe were lining up for next year.
Mate, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And Teresa, I apologise. You're a human being, not a pie. A physical pie. I feel like I'm getting myself into more trouble now, Teresa. Stop winding me up. So Gold Coast are real fascinating, and I wanted to talk about Gold Coast because Gold Coast did something very special here by delisting Ben Jepson. It just opens up one more spot. And just by chance, their last pick, their seventh list spot, is the last pick they've been allocated with points. Because remember, everyone, the rule, you only get picks for list spots. You can't be over until the draft starts. Fascinating little rule here that they delisted Ben Jepson to re-rookie him because it means that they get an extra 30 points. This is why we hate the rookie list, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous.
And poor Benny Jepson as well. He's been shafted here. Like, he gets cropped out of the one draft photo, the school photo with Raul Anderson, Dacos. He can't get in there. He's been shafted again, the poor man.
It's tough. It is tough. And, like, he's Alex Sexton. He's another player, and it makes me laugh. Everyone is linking Eagles with, like, some absolute toffee. Sexton, though, I can maybe understand it in the terms of he's going to help develop them young small forwards. They've got Jamie Cripps there, but they've lost Flying Ryan. Sexton trains hard. I could see that link, but it does remind me of 2018 Carlton, doesn't it, Ian? That when we had the rookie spots, it was like Carlton are the worst side in the league, so every delisted player is in their best 22.
Mate, that's a for solo written all over it kind of vibe. I don't like it. If that was maybe 3 years ago, Sexton, like I'd entertain it for West Coast, but nah, move on West Coast. You need to be looking for better than that.
Mate, it's fascinating. GWS, obviously, you've got Laverde coming in, guaranteed. Well, we don't know it's guaranteed, but they do say it's guaranteed. Interesting, though, that if you watch my mock video, we did talk about, by the rules, they didn't have any list spots. They only had one list spot, and they need to take 3 into the draft. They effectively sacked Connor Stone and Jake Stringer, which opens up the 3 extras.
Convenient.
Very dodgy. I do want to talk about, has GWS, though, ruined Wade Durkson's career? Because there was trade links last year. They held on to him. He's definitely someone that I've watched a lot of his state league. He's pretty good. I would say if you were after at all, he's the type of guy you look for.
He's definitely, he is. I would probably have him. I'd probably have him over Ryan, maybe. I think I've been a bit more excited with a few things. Yeah, if he went last year, it would have been more exciting. And now you've held on another year, doesn't get that exposure. It's so tough. GWS have so many tools. He was always so far down the pecking order. It felt really weird and selfish for them to hold on to him. And now they get rid of him for nothing. It just feels like really dumb list management when they didn't need him in the first place. I think he will be on a list somewhere by the start of next season.
You know what? I'm with Angus here. You know what? We were talking about Carlton need at all. I would be all over Wade Durkson because he can play both ends of the ground.
Especially missing out on Buku. And I know we've got Gov, but he's not necessarily a big tall. I think Durkson definitely plays a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and great name. Yeah, Jacob, there was massive raps back in the day on him. Massive raps. Last year, people were talking about, like, whoever gets him is going to get the trade of the century, and he just never went. So, fascinating. Hawthorn, my favourite team to discuss, because everyone is convincing themselves every delisted player at Hawthorn makes your team better. But Sam Frost is the real interesting one. Now, Sam Frost obviously led them to a final in the finals a couple of years ago before Battle and Barras came. If you're a team that's maybe got injuries to Smalls and you want a guy that plays for 12 months, I'm surprised there isn't more links with Sam Frost. Like GWS talked about Laverde as a temporary backstop. You would have thought Sam Frost would be number one because he's performed in finals.
Yeah, I'm pretty big. Like I go back to the Carlton perspective, which is going to continue to happen as a Carlton supporter myself. Sam Frost is who I would be looking at for Carlton if we do have that one last list spot. If you look at a team like us at the moment, it's Wiedering and then it's Haynes and it's youth. And knowing O'Farrell's out for the year already, Dean, you don't want to completely just throw him to the wolves straight away. You'd like to have someone else on the list, a Frost or another guy like an Ethan Phillips as well. Those sorts of players is who I think clubs should be looking at if you have bunch of young kids coming through. You need one spot on your list. You need some experience, just like a Band-Aid fix for one season rather than drafting a kid and hoping he automatically is ready to go. Like, he's not the greatest footballer of all time, but if you just need him for 1 year, he doesn't even have to play. He can just be on your list, be in the VFL, teach the kids coming through, teach them some standards. Maybe he plays 5 or under games. You could do so much worse than that. And I'm surprised a lot of clubs don't do these moves more often. This is what the NFL does. They find these little Band-Aid fixes just to come in, play a role for a couple of games a season, and then we'll move you on next year and bring in the next, whoever the next Sam Frost will be next year.
No, I agree with you. And like, I think he's that perfect age. Late 30s, like what, 33, 34 next year? Like, if you just want one guy for 12 months, because I always think there's a risk. Like, Carlton are a great example. When you've got injuries, the worst thing you can do is buy a 25-year-old, I think, for list management, because if he plays well, he's going to want to play next year. And that creates a problem. He's probably going to want a decent contract as well. If you get a 33-year-old, he's probably just chuffed to still have a career for 12 months. Next year, you can rookie him or delist him. I think it's a fascinating one. And a team that I think's another player, Marty Hore from Melbourne. That guy has been linked with just about every team. Like, they've taken him twice. And Taj Warden, he had a great state league. 2 players I think probably deserve a chance at a club that's maybe going to use them.
I don't know. Again, it's like Marty Hore's been around enough. I feel like we've probably seen his ceiling. And I think if I'm looking at other players in his position, I think there's better available personally. Woden, I just don't think I've seen enough over the last couple of years of his development. He's just one of those sort of comes in with a bit of hype and then for whatever reason hasn't taken that step. I think he can find his style of player again in the draft and just go for someone who hasn't been exposed. That would probably be my view on it.
You know, my bet, this is Pom's big call, November the 2nd. Taj Warden, mid-season draft, will be drafted by someone. He screams, first 6 months of Waffle 2026. He takes the piss and someone takes the punt. Big call.
And sometimes those players need that. Like, they need that little bit of a shock to, okay, you're not just going to get AFL football, father-son type thing as well. You need to actually work on it. All of a sudden, they figure it out, go to the Waffle, play 6 months, play a year, get everything sorted, mindset is back in, and all of a sudden, back on an AFL list.
Well, no, I agree with you. It's the cheat code, isn't it? Mid-season draft, 6 months, you'll come back. Let's you watch Taj Warden. I hope it's not Carlton, but he will be back playing AFL because he screams dominate. But North Melbourne, I find intriguing. So they've got 2 rookie spots, potentially 3, because they've got to promote Robert Hansen Jr., which we suspect they use their last pick for in the AFL draft to promote him. So they'll take 2 in the draft, which means they've got a plethora of rookies. They delisted, again, a bit like Essendon and Carlton and Melbourne, they've delisted the Tosh on their list. I think they're a real watch this space because I think they could really go hard at players. Like, I think North are in that great position now. They've got youth every line. They're probably looking for more senior players. Like, I think Sam Frost is a perfect fit for North. Like, just prop you up for a year while you put time into the babies and he's back up for you. What do you think with North? I think North could be very active in this sphere.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it reminds me a bit of Carlton a few years ago, going through this kind of the rebuild where you start to bring in all the kids, but who's teaching them? And I think it's evident that no one really was, and that's why we kind of got to where we are now. And you look at North, and that's kind of the gist. Like, they have Luke Parker coming in, which I think was a good acquisition to, whether he's playing great football or not, which I don't think he is. He's okay. It's what he's teaching on the training field. And that's what they can definitely try to do here, knowing that particularly in the defense, it's where they're struggling. A guy like Frost for a season, it's kind of like the perfect move. I think they'll be really interesting to see what they do to their list. They could have easily kept a guy like a Will Phillips. They could have kept a Callan Dawson for another year and see if he does develop. But they've made the call and said, no, they've been a bit ruthless here, which is hopefully a little bit exciting for North.
Will Phillips, a little bit like Ben Hobbs, isn't he? He plays that unsexy role. He's another player I'm looking at because he screams like the type of player that just keeps getting repicked. You know, a bit like Will Setterfield. And I mean this with respect because I like Will Setterfield, but I think Will Setterfield has got two things going for him. Great defensive runner, and he tries hard. But I think he's had way too many opportunities at AFL level. Like, I think in reality, the fitness becomes a concern. Will Phillips, it just feels like he teases you, doesn't it? It feels like he's on the brink of brilliance, but doesn't tip you over.
Yeah, he genuinely had like a 2-month span, I reckon, a couple of years ago where you thought he was about to break through and then it just never happened. He's probably just really unlucky that I think I spoke about earlier when you look at list managers, and even though they won't look at the evidence, there'll be a bias, and being delisted by North unfortunately holds a bias where if he was playing for Collingwood and delisted, you'd go, oh, is he the one that they've missed out on that we can get? It's the exact same player, exact same stat line, but because it's North, they go, oh, if North don't want him, then we don't want him. And I feel like he might just unfortunately be that kind of player that doesn't get the opportunity he might maybe deserve. It's just, yeah, unfortunate when those high draft picks kind of just don't kick on.
Well, I mean, Port have got the chance. We've put here, this is more Pom being speculative, monitoring the Adelaide situation, because I'd love Port to... Like, I'm an Adelaide fanboy, but I would love it for the vibes if Port said, give us Archie. You said he's South Australia. We're South Australia. They're not linked with anyone. They've got quite a few list spots, though, Port, in the terms of that they've got 2 rookie spots and 3 senior spots. They've only got 3 spots total, so it's going to be made up of that. Expected to take 1 pick in the draft. The rest will be rookies. They are linked, though, as of this morning, and I think it was Void who asked, will Jaden Stevenson get a gig? Evidently in the front row at Port Adelaide for Jaden Stevenson.
Yeah,
I can see that.
He should not be on an AFL list. He's playing like 7th grade football. It's just, what are we doing here? Do not get sucked in. No chance. Oh, I don't like it personally. But the one interesting player that I don't know if there's something that I am not aware of on this man, I'm shocked that he has not really been linked with anyone. And Carlton had on, he's almost like exactly what we need for a season, is a Jeremy Finlayson, where can play forward, can pinch hit in the ruck for a season. He's only 29. Is his body cooked? Like, what is it that I'm not truly getting with this guy? He feels like there's enough talent for one season to play. Again, if there's an injury break in case of emergency, he's better than a fresh 18-year-old that is not ready to handle the rigors of AFL.
I'm with you. I mean, at the minute, the only link I've found, and it's taken me ages to find all these links because I've had to scour absolute nonsense. There is a loose Jeremy Finlayson link with doggies, which I can see. I can see it. It's the kind of player that you probably want when you've got lots of young toes, and just in case the Darcy thing happens again, because last year I felt sorry for the Dogs, but they had Norton at centre-half back at one game because like their toes just all died the same week. But I agree with you, Finlayson, when Carlton's only got 1 registered forward at over 190, it's a no-brainer because he's AFL level.
Yeah, like those are the kind of players that I'm surprised aren't getting linked more for a season. It feels like it's just, we'll just get someone in the draft instead. And I don't know, I feel like good clubs find that type of player. And like Collingwood have been the best example out of it, of just finding these players, putting them in to a system that works. And if there's a couple of injuries, the system can hold up because you've got that player there to plug in and play that role.
Mate, I'm with you. There's nothing. He's definitely the type of player that you want to see. Richmond, Ted Closey, interesting. He's been linked with them. Obviously, Jacob Blight, he was a delisted. I'm quite surprised about that. The rest, you're probably not surprised about. But interesting, Richmond evidently have outside interest in Benny Hobbs and Will Setterfield. And they're in that type of position, aren't they, Richmond, where they've done the hard work. Now they just basically can take punts.
Yeah, it's also a tricky position, I think, where Richmond are in at the moment. They've still got a lot of players that are kind of aging near the end, and they've got obviously those youngsters, but what's in the middle that's then going to be the leaders once those youngsters are hitting their prime? And are you bringing in guys that are then going to be stars? Are you bringing in guys to plug a role like a Will Setterfield? It's a tricky spot, and this is the hardest part of a rebuild to, I think, nail that transitional part. Once it feels like you've got a lot of the spine ready for the next few years, how do you make sure that gets to the destination? And yeah, Hobbs, I think, is a really good pick. Setterfield is someone I don't think you should be really going into. He wasn't amazing at Carlton. He didn't do a lot at Essendon. You can get a lot better than Will Setterfield.
You know, Jacob Kazitzki, anyone see... I think that guy's bang AFL average, but that is the type of player that we see tall players take ages to develop. They've got some really good young toes, Richmond. Is he another player that you might throw a VFL spot and promise, if you kick 25 goals till the bye, we'll bring you on the mid-season draft?
Maybe. I'd say I know they're prioritizing youth over a guy like him, but if they're seeing more talent out of that than giving more opportunities to Kazitzki, I'd look elsewhere personally. I'm surprised with Richmond though. Maybe he doesn't have that quality as his personality, which is probably correct if no one's really linked with him. But for the experience of a guy like Camden McIntosh for a season at a developing club at someone else that maybe doesn't have anyone that's won a flag, surprised there hasn't been any links there, but maybe he isn't that kind of on-field leader.
Mate, it'd be an interesting one because he's been at some good clubs, hasn't he? Like Hawthorn. I remember when they drafted him, there was some big hype. Yeah, Jacob, I agree. There was some big hype that first year. That I remember some Hawks fans telling me that he might be better than Mitch Lewis, and he's always had hype. Mitch Lewis. He just he remind, you know who he reminds me of? To use a Carlton legend, this will depress you, Ian. Pat Kerr. Do you remember Pat Kerr?
Oh no, I do. He had the whip, didn't he? I remember the Indiana Jones whip and the cowboy hat.
Yeah. Do you remember he debuted? He kicked them 2 goals, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, Harry, Charlie, and Kerr flag."
You only need a good debut. That you could live off that for years.
Yeah, you know what, Void? I do believe in the junior, in VFL, he was trialed down the back. Travis, we did at the start of the show. We went alphabetical, mate. This Brisbane hatred. I've done 4 videos just for you, Travis, pumping Brisbane up. I've ruined the myth. St Kilda, interesting. Ryan Burns delisted. So St Kilda picking on teams that are deliberately scamming the system. St Kilda did this because up until 31st of October, they were another team that would have to forfeit the draft. Burns being delisted allows them to promote Caminiti off the rookie list, redo Burns, and then they'll get Kai Fincher, which is the 3 changes they need. How stupid is this system? No real links for them, though. Zach Jones evidently got a job at Box Hill Hawks. That's one to watch. I wanted to talk about Harry Boyd and Ari Schoenmaker, though. I think Harry Boyd is definitely a ruck backup option for teams. But Ari Schoenmaker, we know he was a naughty boy during his draft year. Incredible talent. Is this someone that you feel like they could take a punt on?
Yeah, first on Harry Boyd, he has everything written on him as a guy who's going to be on a random AFL lists for the next 10 years. He'll just end up just skip. Oh, you need some sort of ruck, 4th tier ruck. Absolutely, jump on the list. Beautiful. Yeah, Sean Maker's interesting. There's clearly some level of talent, but yeah, if he's that, when you see a club give up on him pretty quickly when there is talent, I'm happy to let someone else take the gamble on that one. I think there's clear non-footballing reasons as to why he's been delisted.
It worries me as well. It worries me. Another team that I'm not saying cheated, but they manipulated the system, and I like manipulating the system. But Jake Lloyd and Dane Rampey, nearly 600 games played between them. Rookies now, evidently. That's evidently what a rookie is.
This is the problem. This is the example of why it needs to change, Pommy. You can't be chucking Lloyd and Rampy in the same time onto your rookie list. That just
I mean, it's fascinating because again, Sydney did this. It opens up draft points. They've got Carmichael, they've got Max King to worry about. How silly is this league? They're a really interesting one because you were talking about it earlier, Ian. If Will Phillips played for a Sydney, like Sydney have been that team, haven't they? Who, if they delist a player, everyone convinces themselves that because Sydney are good, same as Brisbane now. I'd imagine a lot of people talking about Brisbane delisted players because they've won 2 flags in a row. This is probably the first time I've looked at Sydney's delistings for a long time and actually vomited in my mouth.
Yeah, there's a couple of boys on there. I'm going, who? I actually don't know who that is, which is kind of telling. But yeah, there's no one on that list that is exciting whatsoever or that should be getting an opportunity anywhere else at this stage.
Mate, it's a fascinating one. Eagles, as you can see, and what I've done, Eagles fans, because I love you, I've tried to be nice, right? Because you are literally linked with every name we've talked about. And I didn't want to do that to you. So I've narrowed it down to the best of the best. Eagles obviously got them 4 extra spots. What do we think Eagles are going to do? Do we think that they're going to be shrewd with them? Or do we have a horrible feeling that that's just going to be the 4 next best delisted players?
Oh, I hope they go kind of 50-50 with it. I think that's the smartest way to do it. But it depends who's still available in the draft. If there has been a bit of talent that's been missed, I think then you really go for that and you prioritize that over you just delisted scrubs that can maybe fill a hole for 1 or 2 years. But I think you go 2 and 2 would be my read on it. What are you sort of seeing with it, Pommy?
No, I'm with you. Look, I think with the Eagles, I think that their draft hand is so strong. I think players like Devon Robertson are the type I'd go for. Them under 25, they're just at an incredible system. If you look at Brisbane, they're just an incredible system. And it's no shame Devon can't get past them players.
Yeah.
But there's maybe a chance.
He should be starting at some club in the AFL week in, week out.
Yeah, there's maybe a chance. Do you know what I mean? But no shame, because I don't think many players in the league would get into Brisbane's midfield. I don't think Brisbane. I think if you got a Brisbane fan and said trade out one of your mids for another team, I don't think there's many players they would trade for. And we're talking elite talent there. So I'd be looking at that. Your Ted Closes, your George Stevens, I'd hate it if they just punted on 30-year-olds, 4 of them.
Yeah, you got to go the high upside somewhere with it.
I hope, because I like the Eagles. I want them back up there. And we finished with the doggies for delisted free agencies. Absolute no links, but the Finlayson one. I do find it fascinating, though, that my boy is on that delisting list, Caleb Poulter. I love Poulter. Failed at the Pies, failed at the Eagles. Failed at the Doggies. Are we going to see him for a 3rd time, though, Ian?
I don't think you can see him for a third. I was a bit of a shock. I thought he was fine for the Doggies. Like, he was just one of those players that if he came in, you'd be serviceable. And sometimes you need those players on your list. But obviously the Dogs want someone who can sort of take that step above that. They've got some youngsters. They can definitely find a similar player.
Are you there, Ian? Did Ian die? I think we've lost Ian. We'll wait, but no, I agree with him. I do think that they. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's back. What were you saying?
That was crazy. Computer just died mid-sentence, which was beautiful. Yeah, no, I'm surprised a bit by Poulter. I think I was saying I thought he was serviceable, but yeah, as soon as you get delisted again, it's hard to then pick him up again, which is upsetting for the man. But yeah, I think Doggy's making some really smart list calls there.
They're going to be an interesting one, the Doggies, but it's all about the draft, isn't it? It's all about the draft. That's what we're here for. And I wanted to get, I know Ian loves his draft like I do. And I know you guys and girls are big draft heads because we always talk about it on our channel. What I've got in front of you at the minute is the AFLs have announced the All-Australian from the children, the under-18s. I wanted you to throw some names at us, chat, that you think aren't getting any love. So we know who the best players in the league are. Everyone keeps sending them to us. But there's quite a few names who have been named in the All-Australian team that no one loves, as Ian goes again. So, chat, while Ian sorts his computer out, a couple of names I wanted to throw at you. Just starting off here, Harley Barker, for a guy that's done his ACL, and Matthew Leray, two players that I think could be the steal of this year's draft. Absolute dynamos, these guys. Wes Wally, hey, Matt Lang. Hey, you know, Tigger's here as well. We're a big Wes Wally fan channel here. Looking forward to him. I am looking forward to Tyler Williams, but I do find this one fascinating here. Fred Rodriguez has slid down everyone's draft board. I think when I did my power rankings, I was like one of the last to have him as high up as I did. His year is incredible, absolutely incredible, and it's fascinating. This one, but when you look at the interchange bench, this is where I think it gets really intriguing. Danny Annable, I keep saying it, I think in an open market is pick one. Incredible player. That is such a good acquisition for the Lions. Ollie Greaves getting a little bit of hate. Sam Ainsworth, a ruckman that no one is talking about at the minute. No one's talking about. All the hype is elsewhere. But I wanted to just locate two players here that I really do like. Riley Onley, not getting any love. But also Jesse Mellor, Geelong-linked NGA. He's not getting any love at the minute. And his Vic Country campaign was fantastic. Lachlan Carmichael, it's fascinating, actually, Alex, because a lot of people were talking about Lachlan Campbell. I've seen when they've done their mock drafts, and they've got him going around where Max King is, which I find fascinating because where's that come from? Because I like Lachlan Carmichael. But how come everyone's bid on him when no one's talking about him? Interesting one. But some really intriguing names. Hugo Mikunda, another one, says spot on. Doesn't get the love at all that he deserves. He really is. I mean, let's take a look at some of these players, right? Let's take a look at some of these players. And let's have a look. What I wanted to show you, here he is, as Ian comes back.
Australian. What are you going to do? Hopefully it doesn't drop out again. We'll see how long I can stay before I'm getting delisted.
We were asking, is there any players, because like if the All-Australian this year has been announced, and you can see like some big names that have fallen down. Fred Rodriguez, who's like top out of everyone's top 50. Is there any guy that you think of who's not getting any love?
Oh, That is a great question, actually, guys who are going really under the radar. I mean, some of the just like, I feel like the NGA and Academy boys don't get enough love. Like Essendon's, I can never pronounce his name, but like Swede or whatever, he's a jet, but just doesn't get the love because he's already going to a team like Essendon. So they kind of go under the radar. Those are the kind of players I tend to gravitate a little bit towards. I feel like another one that I'm rating a lot higher than others as well as I'm looking into my sort of rankings. Like Mitch Marsh is someone that I really love, but it feels like he's kind of moving down because he's that weird sort of mid-size as a forward. But I feel like he's just so mobile and so good when he gets the football that he's just not getting the love.
Do you know what I mean? I love that. Travis is going sharp. You see Dyson Sharp, interesting. I'm with you. I don't think he gets enough love. Rory Wright, great shout. Charlie Banfield and Tyler Williams, I don't think are getting enough love. Great call as well by Ian and you, Jacob. Mitch Marsh, I think, is... You can't argue with how he played. It's as good as you'll see. Some of the NGAs as well. I'm surprised that Tyan Printable, NGA at Brisbane, he has played a boatload of state. He's played most of his football in state, and no one's giving him any love. And Brisbane state team was pretty good. And we just talked when you were off air, this guy here, Jesse Meller. I don't know how Geelong have done this, but he's a Geelong NGA, and it's almost like he doesn't exist. How have they done it?
I don't know. It's what we needed to do with somehow, Dean and these kind of players. It's like, can you just never play so no one knows you exist? Because he's just going to come in and he's going to be an absolute jet, to be honest.
Mate, I'm with you. I just find it absolutely hilarious that like literally no human being in the media as well. We've talked about Jesse Meller, and I'm like, is no one going to talk about this guy might be a top 30 talent going to Geelong? And no one's done it. No one's done it. But the next thing I wanted to finish with, and what I've done is if you go, I dropped the link in chat so you guys can play with this as well. I've added a new thing to the draft board that you guys get to play with, that we all mess about with. And what it is we've got the... Why is that not showing up on your screen? Pom. I'm like, why can't you see what I'm seeing? Here you are.
We'll get there, I'm sure.
What's going on here? I'll tell you what, I hate. Tell you what, technical difficulties. Let's try that again.
Doing it live, though, it's always difficult, Pommy. It's the hardest thing ever. But I think, the other thing... Other players that always tend to get overlooked are just, like you're saying with the Dyson Sharp, is just those just clean inside mids. They're not exciting, so they just don't get the love as much. Like even like an Ollie Greaves isn't spoken about as much as he probably should be because he just does the tough stuff.
Mate, I agree. Printable, he is Brisbane. He's Brisbane tied. Brisbane's NGA, if you actually look at it, because if you use my cheat sheet, you'll actually get them all. Like, all of these are actually draftable. Like, Isaac Waller had a great VFL campaign. Harrison Bridge has got some wheels on him, and everyone wants these types of players. Sam Swadlin's another one. Matt Rowell, great call. You grass-eating Adonis. But what I did is I made this. So when the AFL has the draft, you only get the picks that are available to you by your senior list. So it actually changes quite a bit, particularly in the pointy end, which no one's talking about. Like Carlton's last pick now has points because of it and things like that. So This is never taken into account. So it's a really good tool for you to use. But where do we think some of the trades? So they can trade up until the, I think it's the 12th now, the week before. The draft, and then it opens up again, live draft, and that's when the rule of you can own 1,000 picks once the picks happen. Pick one, your list rules don't apply anymore. So Gold Coast will presumably trade picks for like 5 picks of points. But one of the first big rumors at the minute, and Rift, I wanted to come on to you. Sorry, that was it, November the 7th. this one here. Now, Cooper Duff Tytler, after I did a PR video and said he's not getting any love, him and Dyson Sharp, evidently I've done Cooper some favour. Rumours are 5 and 6 are going to be used for 2. I'm with you here, Rift. I've been saying this all along. Eagles 1 and 2, they own the draft. So you've got to pay overs to get 1 or 2. Like, I think the points don't count. I would be, my starting price for Eagles would be 5 and 6 for 2. I know it's overs, but that is what I'd be wanting. I'd be wanting a ridiculous deal. Like a ridiculous deal. I wouldn't want a fair deal. I'd be like, we're doing you a really good deal.
Yeah, I would not be wanting to trade out if I was West Coast. I think you want to be picking the 2 best players here. And it almost has to be like a 5 and 6 because of the amount of father-son academy-tied players that will be coming through that you're not necessarily then getting 5 and 6 as far as the next best players available. So I think that ends up being what it is. If you want those picks, if there's a player you really want, then pay up. Otherwise, we're just actually going to take the best player. I feel like West Coast have done this a little bit too often where they try to get a bit tricky with it and trade out of the spots when they just need top elite young talent right now. And it'd have to be a ridiculous overs offer, like a 5 and 6 for me to want to entertain it.
I'm with you. I mean, look, I agree with chat as well. Josh, I think, nails it. I think if the Eagles could walk away with Sam Cumming, Xavier Taylor, say, and Will Dersmer, I think they'd be chuffed. But I think that's what they've got to do. They've got to get good players, good picks. I don't think... I agree with Rift. The one I heard was 6 and whatever it was, 6 and 21.
No chance.
For 2. And I'm like, 21's useless to them.
It does nothing. It's especially in this draft. I feel like it starts to really I think past 30, I'm not in love with a lot. I'll be honest. Compared to other drafts, I feel like there's been a lot more picks that I feel a lot stronger on. After about 20, I really feel like it's not the best. So I'd be wanting those really top end picks here. I don't know if Duff Tytler's the right person for West Coast. I know he's been linked, but I don't know if that's the pick. I don't know if I'm just down on him compared to everyone else. Maybe it's the position, and I just don't hold those kind of ruck forwards as elite top picks you want in a draft. I feel like you can find, obviously not the talent-wise of what a Duff Tytler can be, but how many teams have that player that win flags? Not heaps. You kind of can plug and play that ruck forward instead. So I have him a lot lower on my rankings than I think most do. Like, that's my most controversial pick this year. I'm not saying I'm a draft expert and I'm the greatest guru of all time, but like, I get more excited about a lot of other players. My biggest thing is I have him at number 8 in my rankings right now, which seems outlandish.
Well, I was surprised, and Angus, I'd love your opinion on CDT. I don't see an argument for why Essendon would want CDT, because I think they've got a lot of tall guys. Like, it's debatable if they're as good as CDT, right? I'll say that. You could argue that, but I don't think Essendon's primary area is CDT. So I was actually surprised when it was they're willing to give up Cumming, because I think where you look at what their draft could be, Essendon potentially could win it. And I agree with Rift. If that suddenly turns into Dersmer, Cumming, Doverston, Barker, Tyler Williams, and Charlie Banfield, Eagles have gone from having the 2 best picks in the draft to an incredible draft.
Yeah. What do you think Essendon should look at those picks if they're not looking to trade them away?
Well, you see, I had Cumming and the best slider out of Xavier Taylor or Roby, so I had Xavier Taylor ending up with them.
I love Xavier Taylor for him.
Yeah, I think they just go... I actually think for Essendon, that's their best. I think it's the sweet spot. I think Richmond and Essendon have got the sweet spot. Like, I feel like you've got to overpay, and I will be disappointed in Essendon if they lost one of them picks for CDT, because I think they've got a lot of tall depth. I actually think their midfield needs more diversity than Eagles, because I think Eagles has got diversity, hasn't got depth. I feel like Essendon are like inverse St Kilda. It's like everyone's the same type of midfielder.
Yeah, it's a bit dull through the middle.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shane.
This draft's good for it as well.
I don't think you should move up. That's my point. I actually think the first 8, if I was them, I wouldn't move.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. And having the picks back to back is almost the most ideal thing ever. Like, I'd be intrigued here. I don't think they will move, but a team like Melbourne, do they look to move up at some stage with those picks to get someone that is maybe still available there? Do they try to get one of Richmond or one of Essendon's picks? Do they go, we'll give you pick 7 and a future pick for something, and they try to make that deal happen? Melbourne are the ones I'd be maybe looking at moving up a couple of spots.
I mean, Richmond are in a great position that you could argue they drafted so well last year that they might look at a future first. Like Richmond, if they get whoever they want at 3, if Melbourne came in and said, we're desperate for pick 3, have a future first and pick 8, which is an overpay, I reckon Richmond would be like, okay, cool. Well, we'll take the 4th best player and we've got extra tools next year, when you'd imagine next year Richmond target established players. So I'm fascinated. I mean, the other big fascinating one is Carlton.
Yeah.
Now, the talk is Adelaide want to move up in their pursuit of players. Fascinating what Carlton do. Like, because I think there is an argument Carlton trade down.
Yeah, it's such a tough spot because of next year. And one, we're in a predicament which I just can't believe we're in, where we've had a trade period. We're about to have a draft, and there is still no official word on what the bidding will be for next season, for father-sons, for academies. We don't know, which feels like the most Mickey Mouse, what are we doing in this football organization, for clubs trying to plan ahead. And it means we can't necessarily look to maneuver next year's picks as well, because we don't kind of know what's going on there. So I think it depends where this bid's going to go for Dean. I don't think Carlton would look to move up. I feel like it'd just be too hard in this circumstance to try and get a further pick. Hope you still have enough picks and points for Dean and Ison. It feels like too clunky. Feels like moving back is probably the best option, so you don't end up with your next pick being so much further down. But I just don't know what it is. I'm very intrigued. I think if West Coast bid on pick 2, we're absolutely cooked. So hopefully Dean can just get through to Melbourne's picks. That would be the most ideal scenario.
You see, I don't think Eagles bid. I really don't.
I'd be so shocked if they did.
I think it comes from Essendon or Melbourne. I think if anyone, I think that's where it is. But I'm trying to work out what that deal is, because I know they said 16 was involved, but like 16, I reckon Carlton will wait until that bid comes in. If that bid comes in, that's when you trade it. Like, I can't see Carlton doing an early trade now, because let's just say the unlikely occurrence happens and pick 9 happens and no one's bid on Dean. Like, you can get the 9th best player, and then when it's pick 11, you just trade down. You just trade down and go, Dean's coming at some point. We'll just trade into 3 lots of 400s.
You'd know the maths on this, Pommy. If it, say, one of Essendon or Melbourne's picks is where the bid arrives, obviously pick 9 and 11 being absorbed means we'd be over, so we get a pick back. Would that end up being before Adelaide's pick anyway?
Yeah. So, look, we'll do it. Obviously, the maths are going to be skewed. We'll do a real time. Maths are going to be skewed because obviously there'll be other bids. But let's just say it happened pick 2, right? Happened pick 2, right? That is so it's 2,560. So you'd see quite a big depreciation. But there, Carlton would be owed 327. So bit of a recap for you. Remember, the AFL give you the change to the closest pick, and they do it before they delete bids. So Carlton's would go to 36.
Yeah.
These two would be deleted, and then it would become 35. So it works out at pick 35. Carlton's first pick would be, if 9 and 11 were used. If it's here, though, this is where it gets exciting. So 1171, Carlton basically 11 would go down to 12.
Because that would
so
be
if you go where it's, I did Essendon bidding on it. I was early. Carlton's pick went to 14. So it's not a big. Carlton's 11 slid down to 14.
Because that's what I was going to say. I was like, it makes sense if they end up moving back for Adelaide's pick, if it's likely that with the way it could all work out is we end up getting a slightly higher pick, but I'm not sure it works. Like, even if they offer, a future first round pick, is that really what we're after? Then we'd have obviously 3 first round picks for next year. Bit more to play with a bid and maybe a play for, not that I think it would happen at all, but a guy like a Butters, you then have more capital to try and get those things done, and a Walker bid. I just don't know if that's the right thing here. I feel like attacking this draft makes the most sense rather than trading back. I feel like the offer would have to be almost too good to refuse.
Yeah, I can't see this happening. I can't see them offering 16 and a first for 9 because I don't think the guy you get at number 9 is that as good as that. The ones I'm intrigued by is North Melbourne.
I was about to say North Melbourne. Do you think they try to maneuver and get higher and back into this draft?
Like, North Melbourne, for me, I'd be looking at North Melbourne, like, genuinely, because North Melbourne are in... How many list spots have North Melbourne got? I don't think they've got a load as well. I think North... Yeah, so North only need 1 to hit the criteria, which they'll already do with that. So 37. So you'd imagine they're going to take 2 max in this draft. I wonder if there is an argument that you could maybe get them to... I reckon Brisbane and Gold Coast will be looking at them picks. Like, I reckon if I was Gold Coast, I'd be offering pick 15. I get 100 more points, right? They get a better pick. And I've
especially
got to
in this draft,
100 players.
I think you're better moving up those spots, getting 1 rather than a stab at the dark at 2 where they currently are. I think that's the best move for them. Target, we've got some points for you. We'll make it easy. You'll get your kids. That's just a win-win. And I think North do need to trade up in this year's draft. So I think that works perfectly, to be honest.
You know what? North's future first would be thirsty. Like, if you've got bid matches...
Can they do it again?
Yeah. Sure, I don't think they would. Surely they wouldn't. The other team I'm looking at as well is... I look at the Eagles here. I feel like Eagles are in a really good position. I'm going to make a bold call. I think Eagles win this draft because I think 13 is a great pick after all the big match chaos. You're going to get some sliders. I reckon there's going to be a big slider and they're going to have their take your pick type players because I could see a world that let's just say, I'm just going to spitball. Let's say North say, right, we want a key defender or we want a key forward. Let's say they want a key forward. Let's say they've got Aidan Sherbert on their list. If he slides to where Eagles are, I guarantee with them only having a couple of list spots, they say, I have 25 and 26, we'll take 13 off your hands. I think with what Eagles' work will be in 1 and 2, they potentially could get some really good players from there. Because you look at all these players that will get absolved. Half the bids between North and Eagles will get absolved in matches.
That's true. That's actually really exciting. Yeah, I think it depends who's available. Like if I'm West Coast, I'm not making that trade before the draft. I'm seeing who's available at that pick and then taking the phone call from North, because I agree with you. I feel like at that pick, someone could easily slide there. So it'd have to be what it ends up being. It's going to be so crazy. Like this draft, I've never seen anything like it where the same team has consecutive picks for the first few. It just set up everything and you just don't know who they're going to pick. Like it's such an interesting draft this year where no one can predict those first 8 picks. No one is going to nail that. It is going to be so impossible.
I agree. And I agree with Angus. I do think there's going to be a lot of live trades. I think there's going to be... I just find it weird that I think... I can't make an argument the top 8 to trade. I just don't know why you would. Unless that deal is disgusting. Like... That deal for me to move out of the 8 has to be disgusting, and I'm wondering who's willing to pay a disgusting price. I think GWS may trade out at 12 as well.
Well, something that doesn't tend to happen a lot in AFL draft. I know it's different because the depth of talent compared to like the NFL draft, but something that happens so often is teams will trade up 1 spot or 2 spots, or they'll trade back 2 spots in a draft. They don't tend to move back a ridiculous amount. That just doesn't happen in the AFL draft at all. Would you be surprised if maybe an Essendon or a Melbourne there, I'm not sure it works with who has the picks, but at some stage, someone in the draft finally goes, let's just trade back 2 spots and get some extra picks in. Because there's enough players here that we're fine with any of these 3 getting chosen by our next pick, and we get some more capital in the door. Feels like something that just is not done as a strategy in the AFL draft, that I'm surprised it hasn't started to happen.
Yeah, I think you might actually see it. I could make an argument for Essendon. You use them as an example doing it with Swade coming in. Like they might look at it, and I think by about 27, if there isn't a bid on him, which I think there should be, but if there isn't, there's probably an argument there that they just start banking points.
Yeah,
because I don't think everyone's saying Essendon are going to take 8 selections of the draft. I don't think they are. I think they're going to take 4 very good ones. They're NGAs, and then look at topping that up with ready-made players in the preseason draft. You could do that. I reckon North are in that position as well, where you don't just want to take a player. As well, I always find that weird because they reckon 45 to 55 picks this year, which will be the lowest we've ever seen.
Yeah.
There is a great argument that you just fuck it off. So there is some teams in this draft. Collingwood are really late. They've got to pick. There is an argument that if your list is just about established, you might as well just take your academy guys. Because I think Carlton are in that situation where people are saying trade down to 30, 40. I would say if that's the situation, Carlton are best off packaging 9 and 11, getting a future in, and bringing in 2 lots of 20s or 30s and saying, we'll fight next year for the draft then. Because if we're going to get a shit pick, I'd rather try and find a way of getting 2 top 10s next year, Cody Walker, and another pick in the first round, than just picking for the sake of it.
I feel like if there's ever a draft that you see a lot of teams trading out and trying to get into next year's, if a lot of that good talent is gone quickly and they just, for whatever reason, some clubs may not be rating those picks 20 to 40 as much as they have in previous years. They go, you know what? We were hoping 1 or 2 of these guys slid. They haven't. We just don't love this next 10 players that we could select. We'll just go into next year's draft and we'll get a guy like a Sam Frost. We'll get a delisted player, plug them in for a season, and then go next year. This feels like the first year they can do that, and it kind of makes sense.
Mate, well, I mean, we've gone over time, but chat, thank you very much. Now, Ian, if people go to the navy blue corner, what kind of wonderful things can they see over there?
Yeah, so if you're a Carlton supporter, we do Carlton content. It's pretty much Carlton only content. So if you don't support Carlton, then you'll probably absolutely hate it. But yeah, we haven't done a video for a while, basically because my co-host was living in London. He's moved back to Melbourne, so it's been a bit of an issue over the trade period. He's in New York. I was giving him live minute-by-minute updates. So we'll eventually do a bit of a trade and sort of draft recap and get into all the finalities because so much has happened since we last spoke. Kerno's been traded. A lot's transpired. So yeah, if you go over to Navy Blue Corner on YouTube, we're also available streaming, all of that kind of stuff, Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you listen. We'll be there, and there'll be a few more episodes before the end of the season wraps up.
Mate, always go and check Ian out. His link is in the description. I've just put it in the chat as well. Tomorrow, we're going to give you the rundown of the best mids in our new series where we give you 2 expensive ones, 2 cheap ones, 2 state league options, and 2 NGAs. So if you like your draft content, you'll get some bargains there. I've got a load of the double ups as well, the draft challenges with some guest hosts. And you'll see Ian again because we do the live mock draft the week before the draft. So he will be picking for another team where we have a little bit of a competition. So stick around for that. Make sure you like and subscribe, chat. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you next week. Toodaloo.